Nation, how are you doing this afternoon, this Friday, man? Uh, just want to step into you, man, and give you some content. Try to keep this ball rolling of getting ready for this season, man. We're really moving down some of the days, man, to get into this season, man. We got the guys at the coaching staff of the Dallas Cowboys are getting guys on the field, getting the chance to work with some drills, get to know their players. The players to get to know their coaches. Um, I love the things that Schottenheimer is saying. Um, he's talking about having one of the greatest cultures in sports. Um, Man, we don't know how great that is when we talk about having one of the greatest cultures in sports. Um, and that is a truly a key to us having one of those things. Sorry about that, folks. Had an emergency phone call, had to take it. I didn't want to take it. Didn't want to take that phone call on the air. And I hope I didn't lose anybody. I've just been having a little problems with trying to get this live screen together, man. Um, but I really wanted to get out here and do this content and try to get something out of here about. Um, as you see in the live stream is um, I posted up something on X today. Uh, Lou Takes had had a post about uh, Tyler Guyton, our new tackle, and he's one and Tyler Guyton had a interview, and I think a lot of people have been talking about Guyton and his development from last year, and I think a lot of people are saying about Tyler Guyton as being one of the keys at the left tackle position of the success of this offensive line coming this year. Um, I think with what it's going to take for this offensive line to get together and to be great, it's going to take one of the things that I learned in coaching and I learned as when I played. I played offensive line in college. I broke my teeth out. I broke my coaching. Uh, 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 I broke my coaching. Sharpened my teeth and got my first teeth and chunk of coaching got in. It was in coaching offensive line, defensive line. Then moved on to defense coordinator and then head coaching. So, but that was my start as an offensive lineman. And I see a lot of great things with this offensive line that's coming out that we have here. Um, there's been a lot of talk about this offensive line. There were some games last year that this offensive line played horrible. Um, and the things that it was horrible about this offensive line was just about everything. Um, the continuity, how they, the unison, they were not in sync. There was a lot of things that was bad with this offensive line last year at times, and then at times it looked like it was getting better, but it never seemed like they could get their stride, hit their stride, and they could tell them could be very good for a long period of time. They had one of the they were their problem was the microcosm of the whole team, and that was inconsistency. Inconsistency and it was not a cultural base uh, unit um, team last year. And as you're hearing a lot in Dallas now, Schottenheimer is doing a lot to try to build unity within the team, which is a part of building culture. Um, you got to have culture to have that same page and everybody be on the same page. And that's where you can hold people accountable. And that's how you can build unity because everyone wants to stay in line in what you're trying to build. That don't mean everybody's going to be the same, but everybody's going to stay in line. But the culture, I think back by why Schottenheimer drafted was so enamored with Tyler Booker. Now you think about it, uh, offensive defensive line are the backbones of your culture. If no other unit speaks of how your culture is of a football team, it's going to be offensive defensive line. They're going to speak for the foundational blocks that I've talked about in other videos and continue to talk about, and I will continue to talk about because they're important. And those foundational blocks are five things as we always go over, and that is physicality, discipline, mental toughness, leadership and coaching, and talent. And your five offensive line, your offensive and defensive linemen are going to have um, those things, man. They're going to have those five things that we talked about in previously when we talked about building the culture. Your offensive and defensive linemen are going to be the blueprint, are going to be the picture of your culture. And the reason why I say they're the picture of your culture because one, offensive defensive line get a little bit more, a little more glamour. But the offensive line, they don't get glamour. But inside that locker room, they set the culture. They set the tempo of how this team is going to be run. They're almost the engine of how this team going to run. Now, we talk about the quarterback and how valuable the quarterback is because the quarterback has the ball in his hand, and he's the he's the individual, and football can really um, promote that. But it always come back to the offensive line where they give people the ability to do what they do, the quarterbacks to do what they do, the receivers do what they do, and the running backs to do what they do, and the tight ends to do what they do. So your culture is going to be built off your offensive line. Now, how could this offensive line be great? I think this offensive line has the ability to be one of the best offensive lines in football. And not just one of the best offensive lines in football for this season. I believe that this offensive line has the ability to probably be one of the better offensive lines for probably the 5 or 6 years from now, 5 6 year span. Other teams believe you. The other teams look at this team and look at the youth in this offensive line and the talent in this offensive line, and they say, "Wow, gosh, that's something." Football people now. Now you might not get the pundits or the guys that just out there, just out there talking and this, talking in a fantasy football mindset because you don't get any points from offensive linemen. So nobody really want to talk about them because they don't give you no points for fantasy football. From a fantasy football perspective, from a John Madden football perspective, people don't really talk about the offensive lineman until they can't stop somebody from rushing from the outside and they getting sacks or their quarterback can't get no time. Then they'll go and try to get an offensive lineman that's a 99 or a 98 pass blocking. But they don't talk about the offensive lineman like we would talk about the offensive line, how important of a unit they are for the success of a football team. And those 5 people have to move like the hand, like the fingers on the hand. They have to be that connected. And what makes it so great with offensive linemen, they have to be connected in a physical manner. So they got to be connected mind-wise. They got to be connected in quickness, and then they got to add the physical component to all three. So they got 3 things going. They got a thinking component and a physical component. With the physical component, got speed, quickness, reaction, and physical contact. So that makes that unit special. It makes that unit very special. So what's going to make this offensive line great? So let's go back to what this first. Let's lay some groundwork, because everybody knows the Cowboys done had some great offensive lines in the past. They had some great offensive lines in the 70s with Herb Scott, Tom Rafferty, Rayford Wright. All these guys were great offensive lines. I think some more should be in the Hall of Fame. Rayford Wright is in the, but I think Herb Scott should be in the Hall of Fame too. Straight out of Virginia Union. Tom Rafferty should be in the Hall of Fame. One of the greatest centers. One of the first centers that could do the shotgun snap and block. Yeah, Tom Rafferty. Herb Scott was all pro, I think, about 7, 8 times. So there's a lot of Cowboys that should make Hall of Fame, but they have some great offensive line. And then we know about the Great Wall, with the Nate Newtons, the Mark Stefanoskis, another Hall of Famer. I mean, Mark Stefanoskis wouldn't have made the Hall of Fame. Nate Newton didn't make the Hall of Fame, but he could have, as many Pro Bowls made. Eric Williams should be in the Hall of Fame, but injuries limited his career, but he would have been a Hall of Famer. Mark Tournay was a great one too. But we look back at the Great Wall, which they made a documentary of a Great Wall that was a part of 3 Super Bowl champions. Blocked for the leading rusher in NFL history. Blocked for Troy Aikman, but they had their hiccups. They didn't have all great games. They came from many different genres and era. I don't think none of them was first round draft picks. Mike Tournay was a defensive tackle, and he was switched to offensive line. Mark Stefanoski was one of the smallest. I think Mark Stefanoski wasn't even 200, maybe 250 pounds, soaking wet. But he was ultimately strong and quick, and had the knowledge to learn how to play leverage. Nate Newton was a guy that almost was cut from the Washington Redskins. Eric Williams was drafted from Central State with, I think 3rd round. But they became the Great Wall because they had 3 things that I'm going to talk about, and it's Coach Marv 3 C's. 3 C's to a great offensive line. And that's what this team has to do. And when I talked about that, I said Lou made that post, and I made a repost, and we were talking about Tyler Guyton, because I know a lot of people want to talk about Tyler Guyton. And I said, all Tyler Guyton needs is reps, more reps, and more reps. This kid had, even when people talking about him switching from right tackle to left tackle, he don't even have that many reps as starting as a right tackle. That many games. He's a very young talent that was very young and very talented, but he needs more reps. Now, why did he use? Some people say, "Well, man, hey, man, well, coach, why did he get it?" Well, you think about it. Let's look at his training camp. See, I think sometimes we judge players. Like I was telling about, we're judging Mozzie on his Mozzie Smith about his next this year, but we forgot he had shoulder surgery before last season. He didn't get no. It took him a while to get rolling. Tyler Guyton missed about a week or two of spring of training camp because he had a viral infection in his lungs. And when a young player like a rookie misses a week or two, he almost done. Because after you get out of training camp, it's impossible to catch up. And those are valuable reps that he needs. Reps and more reps. But I'm going to get back to with the 3 C's of what's going to bring Tyler Guyton and the rest of this offense together. Because remember, I said the offense line is the focal point of the culture. They set the tone for the culture of the football team. They set the physicality mode. They set the discipline mode because they have to be disciplined in what they do. No pre-snap penalties, and they have to be disciplined to be able to communicate and to do their assignments. They set the mode of being mentally tough. Yes, offensive linemen have to be some of the most mentally tough guys on the football field because they're going to lose some battles against some defensive linemen. I know a lot of y'all say, man, my team, my offensive line don't ever lose. Well, let me be honest with you. Offensive linemen lose battles. You don't win every battle. Your job is to win the majority of them by margin and to be able to work together to win a battle. Because if you don't work together as an offensive line, you're not going to win the battle. You're not going to win the war. If you go into a game and you say, I'm just an individual offensive lineman and I don't need none of the other guys, I'm just going to dominate my man, you're going to look bad. Your unit's going to look bad. Because it's one position that you can't go into it without your brothers. And you have to bring your brothers along with you for you to be good. So when I talked about Tyler Guyton and this offensive line, I think like this, and when we got all this talk about Tyler Guyton, but I want you to remember this, if y'all don't remember anything else that the old Coach Marv tells you about offensive line. It's not important for an individual lineman to be great. You don't need 5 individual grade A superb linemen to have a great offensive line. You say, well, wait a minute, coach. What you mean by you don't need 5 superior guys? No. You just need to be great together. See, I almost say like this. New Edition, the Temptations, the Jacksons. They were great as a group. Now they had some people on there. We talking about the Jacksons, Michael Jackson. We talking about the Temptation, Eddie Ruffin. We talking about the New Edition. Maybe let's say Bobby Brown. They were great. They had some great people in there that was above the greatness. But together, it was magnificent. Because you put those things together, and they had the 3 C's too. Yeah. The same 3 C's that I'm about to give you for offensive alignment, it works with that. Because when you put a group together, if this group has these 3 C's that I'm about to give you, they could be great. Add a little talent to it, they're going to be great. And I think we got the talent. Now we got to put them together. It's not important for us to have greatness all across the board, but it's important that we have greatness as a unit. See, I pointed out just a few minutes ago when I first talked about the Great Wall. I pointed out if some people would if some people had looked at the resumes of the Great Wall before they got together in Dallas and under the great offensive line coach of Hudson Hawk, if you took the resumes of the guys that they put together from the Tournays, the Eric Williams, the Stepnoski, the Nate Newtons, Geislet, Gogan, because those played guard. You know, they switched off playing guard. If you took the resumes before they got to Dallas, you'd be saying, man, these are a bunch of ragtag muffins. You crazy? And if I was to took the resumes and told you this line turned into be one of the greatest offensive lines in football history, if you took their resumes at first, you'd say, man, coach, you crazy. There is no way. Not a first round draft pick out there. Guys that was switching position from offense to defensive line. Guys that was way under sized at center. Guys that got traded from other teams. Gogan was let go from another team. Coach Nate Newton was let go from another. Do you telling me that this team, this line with these guys became one of the greatest offensive lines in football? No way. Tell you what a lot of coaching can do and how it can unleash talent. You see what I meant when I always told you about coaching? He didn't make those guys talented. He just took the talent. Hudson Hall just took the talent they had. He what? And when I told you about talent, he motivated it. That's all coaches can do with talent. They can't make them. Mom and dad make talent. He motivated the talent. He refined their skills. Right? He held it accountable. Held each one of those guys accountable to the unit. And he put them in the right spots to be successful. Yeah. Moved Nate Newton from tackle back to guard. Moved Steph Nobson into center when he was playing guard in college. Yeah. Moved Matt Martinez from defense to offense. Put them in the right spots for them to be successful, refine their talent, and they became one of the best units in the history of football. That's all we can do with talent. So it's not important for each one of them to be Hall of Famers, but it's important that they be good together. When Ezekiel Elliott first came in the league, people forget there was a guy free to play right tackle. And people used to be crazy, used to be hard on Doug Free. But Doug Free wasn't the greatest tackle in the world. But on that team, he fit in. And they had his 3 C's. So let's talk about the 3 C's. They talk about the 3 C's to a great offensive line. What's the first one you want? What we would say? Let's look at the first one. Continuity. Continuity. That's the ability to 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 mess with each other, fit with each other. An offensive line has to have continuity. Defensive linemen have to have continuity. The pieces got to fit. And it's got to fit in a way like a puzzle. Certain guys, that's when you talk about a side works well with together, they start building that continuity. Where everybody is moving in sync because it's almost like a dance routine out there. When the offensive line gets in rhythm and continuity, man, it's a beautiful thing because you would think from the outside looking in, man, like these big individuals are moving like dancers on the dance floor. Each step is the same. Everybody's coming off the ball at the exact same time. When one jabs, the other one is accepting the weight. When one scoops and one leaves the block, the other one is already putting his hips and getting his hips in place to accept the block after the other guy leaves. When they double team people, they're coming at force and they're staying in unison. Their steps are in step. That's continuity. How you build continuity? Reps and more reps and more reps. Last year, you couldn't build no continuity with Guyton because he was out. You couldn't really build no continuity because Chuma went out. You couldn't really build no continuity because Zach Martin was hurt a lot. And then you were trying to build in a new center like BB, and you were trying to build that continuity. It just wasn't there. And then there's some problems with the training camp that I have been saying, and we are hoping that the training camp, and I'm gonna do a whole show about training camp. But we are hoping training camp is different because getting that continuity is gonna come in training camp. If you want to build a culture and a continuity and a staff, it comes in training camp. You ever heard of the slogan that the hay is out, the hay is already in the barn? By the time you get in the season, the hay is already in the barn. You got to build that continuity in training camp. They're starting to build that continuity now, but once they get the group together and say, this group is number one, this group is number two, yes, you're gonna build your backups into that continuity, but you want to really build that continuity with reps and reps and reps. But let me make sure you understand this. And this is for the fans that don't believe in the run game. Offensive line continuity and greatness is built off the running game first. How you become a great offensive line is built for you having the best run blocking because that takes more continuity and teamwork and unison than pass blocking. See, pass blocking, you make stunts, man goes, man coming. We play one-on-one out on the tackle, you gotta block that man. You making sure that he don't have a two-way go because your guard is inside. He's gonna make sure he makes a there, so he's not gonna give that tackle, that the defensive end a clear lane to go inside. So, but basically, This is how you start individualizing your linemen, and you get them out of continuity because you only give them pass blocking. Yes, your slide protection, that's all communicational base. But communicational basis of of having to move another grown man and manipulate another grown man's body that's just as strong as you, probably just as big as you, and you have to do it in unison and then be quick enough because these people are just as fast as you in the run game. That's, my friend, is where your continuity and your skill level as an offensive lineman grows. And if you're able to do that in the run game, I ain't saying you got to run for 400,000 yards, but if you're able to do that in the run game, pass block gets easy. It gets easy. When you're able to control the game in the run game, pass blocking is a breeze. I'm telling you something that I experienced, I've coached, and any offensive lineman will tell you that. If I could dominate you in the run game, pass blocking for you is easy. So continuity is our first piece, and that's going to take reps and reps of building a great offensive line. Get that continuity. You don't have to have stars. They will play like stars together. Now, maybe individual, they go someplace without no continuity, you might see their warts. But if they got the continuity together, they're going to play like stars. Second thing of the 3 C's. Confidence. Confidence is in every position. Everything takes confidence. All positions take confidence. Every position you have to be confident in it to be able to be performed. Continuity, the first part, builds confidence. We say, well, coach, give me an example how continuity builds confidence. When you're in continuity, you're in unison with each other. It builds confidence when you do a scoop block or a block where two people double team one guy and they got to get to the linebacker. So you got to move the guy, the defensive tackle in front of you, and you got to either move on top of him or somebody got to slide off to get to the linebacker. But if you got continuity with y'all stepping in unison, right foot with right foot, left foot with left foot, strength here balanced. When one guard is leaving the strength position and starting to go up top, the strength of the backside is getting stronger because they're in position to take on and maintain the block. When you build continuity, you build confidence. When we talk about Tyler Guyton and all the rest of these offensive linemen, they need confidence. That's what Lou had on his post when he was talking about he was hoping that this would build into his confidence because he's even talking better, Tyler Guyton. His interview was a very strong interview. I think he was a rookie, man. First time he had all this type of money. Big guy getting all this, expectations. Didn't get as many reps. Yeah, the kid now has gotten his feet on the ground. Full year to lift, whole year of being able to work on some of the stuff he was lacking on. Yes, his confidence is there, but his confidence is only going to even grow more with reps and more reps when he builds continuity of the other 4 guys that he's working with. Then he's going to build confidence. And every great offensive line has confidence. And when I say that they build offensive linemen are the building blocks of your culture, physicality, discipline, and confidence comes with what? Mental toughness. They know if we lose, we might go out in the series and the defense might get the best of us. But the next series, we're going to correct things. We're going to help our guy when we know he may have a little trouble with another guy. We're going to be able to slide protection, or we're going to be able to do things in a unison manner because we're going to be mentally tough, because we're going to have confidence that we're going to get the job done. Continuity first and confidence second. The two building blocks. The two major things of the 3 C's to a great offensive line. The third thing, and y'all may say y'all don't believe in the third thing, control. First, you're going to build reps and reps and reps and more reps to build continuity of how you're working with the offense, continuity with the offense, being confident in what you believe in, confident in your fellow guys to work together, confidence. Then you're going to build control. There's nothing more beautiful when an offensive line is controlling the football game. Now, does that mean that we score 40, 50 points if the offensive line controls the game? No. Those guys on defensive line put their clothes on too. But one thing, when your offensive line's in control, you never feel out of the game. And you can feel the men, and they can control the game and only score 14 points. Because it takes so much to score, and it could be some other things that go wrong. But when an offensive line control and impose their will on other teams, there's nothing more beautiful than that. Everything works well because when the offense comes to the sideline, when they have been stopped a possession, and you feel that your offensive linemen are the leaders of your culture, they're together, has great continuity, and you can tell by their swag of their confidence, and you know that they'll gain control of the game eventually. As an offensive coordinator, it makes your job easier. As a quarterback, it makes your job easier. As a receiver, it makes your job easier. A running back, it makes your job easier. When the offensive line controls the line of scrimmage, and they could dictate what fronts you playing, they dictate to the defensive linemen how they going to pass rush, how they going to come off the ball. Yes. When the offensive lineman is working in unison and you can't break them because they are all on the same page and they all got the same mentality, they dictate to the defense what they want them to do. There's no better feeling as an offensive lineman when you know you got control of the line of scrimmage. You don't even get tired as offensive line then. You can't wait to get on the field. But what's going to give you control? The other two things that I talked about. The continuity and the togetherness of the offensive line. Being together as the offensive line, being able to work in unison, knowing your offense inside and out, knowing what gets you in rhythm, See, it's important for the offensive line coach and the offensive coordinator to make sure he gets continuity with his offensive line. Y'all have heard Coach Marv say this before about coaching. You got to know what your players' strengths and weaknesses are, what makes them tick, what gets them in rhythm. Every offensive coordinator should know what gets my offensive lineman in rhythm, what gets them in sync, what puts that snap in that beat. And we make sure we do that. Some offensive line, when they got a physical presence, they don't want to go out there and start out there passing. They want to get out there and start banging. That don't mean they're gonna keep banging all day, but they want to get a measure of control of the line of scrimmage of a man against another man. They want to allow you to know early on in the game, makes no difference if they score or not. They want to let you know that this line is better men than y'all guys on the defensive line. I don't care if it's number 2 or 3 first down, but they want you to get a sense that they have the dominance. And then they work everything else after that. But if you go in there being shy and put the ball up and making them be dancing bears at the beginning, and then let the defensive lineman take it to them, because when they pass block, most times the defensive linemen are on attack mode. And the defensive line start to feel that they're the dominant guys and the offensive linemen are kind of running. The offensive lineman can never get it back during the game. Now, I know some people going to talk about this and say, well, Coach Marv getting back to running the ball. We want to run the ball. I just say this. Check the history of the last 10 Super Bowl champions and look at the Super Bowl game. The team that ran the ball better in the Super Bowl, the best, probably won 9 out of 10. The 2 Super Bowls, the Kansas City lost. They didn't run the ball at all. And Patrick Mahomes threw the ball and both of them together over times, over 100 attempts. And if they didn't score a touchdown late in a couple of scores late in the game against Philadelphia, he had been through the ball over 100 attempts and scored about 3 touchdowns. Physical presence. Did the Eagles run the ball a lot? Yes, they ran the ball 40 sometimes. Did they run it good? No, but they ran it better than Kansas City. Do you have to be a running team? But you have to do, offensive linemen have to show their dominance. To be able to control the line of scrimmage. They're going to build their control with their continuity. And you're only going to build continuity if they want to build it in training camp. It has to be built with the running game first. There ain't no other way. You ain't going to build nothing that's going to be congruent and unified and working by doing the lightest work first. It's only going to take adversity and grind to build that continuity. And with that grind and building that continuity, you're going to be able to build confidence. And you ain't going to build confidence by shading off and pass blocking. You're going to build confidence and continuity in each other when you can be able to get other men, grown men, and as a unit, y'all can make them move and get where you want to go. There's nothing more fearful than an offense that can say it's 3rd down and 5 and we still can run the football and get 5 yards. Yeah, I've been defense coordinator. Yep, I spent more time a defense coordinator, and I can tell you this as a defense coordinator: if you scout a team and it's 3rd down and 5, and you have a question, and it's a 50-50 if they're gonna run or pass to get 5 yards, it puts your defense in a hell of a position of of the unknown, and they have a leg up on you. But there's some teams in this league, it could be 3rd down and 3, and they don't feel like they can get 3 yards. Even though you in nickel, they still throw it. And people out there think, say, well, coach, if that's the case, man, that means they got a prolific offense. That means the defense is in control. Because the defense can say, I'm making you one-dimensional. It's 3rd down and 3. You still can't run. There's some teams that it's 3rd down and 6, and you still got to worry about running. Philly will run the ball 3rd down and 7. Because they're going to feel if we can get 5 yards, we're going to put our offensive lineman out there again and get 2 more yards in the tush push. And how demoralizing that is to a team. And then right after that, they'll come and hit you with a long pass. Yeah. Because when we demoralize you, then you let your guard down. That's how important a physical presence in a run game is. There is more touchdown passes thrown on play action passes than any other play in football. 65% of play action passes is Patrick Mahomes. He always faking the ball. There's very few teams that just go straight back, drop back, like you do in and I think we get it mixed up because we do that in the Madden game. Everybody in shotgun, straight drop back. But the idea of deception of another play is always great. And the idea if a player can move you and dominate you physically, when he has to pass block you, he can handle you with no problem. Because what you find defensive linemen do, they're trying to protect themselves physically, and their get off is just a bit of half slow, then going. I think y'all might have seen if y'all seen this film clip when Ray Lewis is talking about when he was talking about his team, and he was still doing him playing middle linebacker, and how he called the cadence out for his defense, and he would tell them rabbit, 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 rabbit. When he tells them rabbit, he telling his defensive lineman that he kind of figured this is a pass, and he wants them to get after the quarterback. So he wants them to come off the ball trying to get to the quarterback. And then he says something else, another catchphrase, I think it was turtle or something like that, stay. What he's telling them to come off the ball, but come off with balance, because it's a run play, and if you come up with in your pass and sprinting off, you're going to get out the lanes, and the run going to hurt us. But so it's a different way that he's telling his defensive line how to come off the ball. If the middle linebacker is doing that for his defensive lineman to tell them basically how to come off on a pass and a run, what happens when the defense doesn't know it's going to be a pass or a run? Who has the advantage? But can you build an advantage if you don't set a physical presence to your offense? No. Can you build continuity to your offensive linemen if they didn't have to do the most continuous thing they have to do is run blocking and you don't practice that? No. If your offensive linemen are not confident that they can move men together, you think they're gonna have confidence as an offensive line? And if they don't have those two things, do you think they're gonna be able to control the line of scrimmage and control the game? No. The Great Wall didn't have 5 Hall of Famers. But the Great Wall had the best continuity as a Hall of Fame offensive line. They had confidence out of this world. And they control better than any other offensive lines in their time. And that's facts. They did a documentary on them. They're not Hall of Famers individually, but collectively, they're the Great Wall. So will I give this offensive lineman some time off in training camp? Hell no. Every rep that Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker, BB can get, they will get it. Will somebody say, well, you're overworking them, coach? They're young enough to know. Do they know? Do I need to give them rest? Because do they know what it's going to take for us to get up that mountain and get over that mountain? Yes. They don't know. No, they don't. Because we hadn't gotten to an NFC championship game. We hadn't gotten to a Super Bowl. Once they climb the mountain, then you make it take a little bit off. But they ain't climbed the mountain. Do I like the reserve lineman we got? Yes. I love Austin Richards. I love Palmer as a backup. I love the other guard that we had coming in last year. I like, listen, it's pun. I love our offensive line coach. Okay, I never did. I had my hiccups with the two offensive line coaches we had here in the last couple of years. I love Bass. Bass is the guy who came out of Oregon. They got another guy out of Oregon we drafted. I like the guy that we drafted last year that didn't get a little playing time last year. We're going to see what he got this year. See, I think sometimes we look at again, I've said this on another live stream when we talk about other positions. And I want our Cowboy Nation, y'all to be very careful with this. This is something you have to be very careful. Right? Y'all have to be very careful that y'all don't take the outcome of the season and then individualize and say, oh, that must be garbage. The offensive line must be garbage because we were 7-10. The defensive line was garbage because we had, the guys ran the ball on us. Well, we were this and that. We got all this because we have to take things in context to understand, hey, man, we had some goodness there. But when you add non-consistent football teams together, and this is what I hope we can be building our culture of consistency, you have those type things. But the 3 C's, if we could get the 3 C's with this offensive line, continuity, confidence, and control. You say, well, coach, you ain't saying nothing about physicality. Physicality is built into the culture. Remember, I told you the offensive line is going to lead the culture. That's a cultural block. We build culture first, and then outside the culture, we start building unit configurations and unity to build something. But those cultural blocks are building blocks. Everything else is built off the building blocks. I've told you, if I ain't tell you one time before, if you go to build a building, if the building, the foundations are not built right, the farther you build up, eventually it's gonna all crumble. And the offensive line is the building blocks of this football team. How can this offensive line become great? Build those five things in culture and be the leaders in those five things in culture: physicality, discipline, mental toughness, coaching, and leadership, the leadership part, and show your talent. Those five things. And then the coaches. How you make this great offensive line? Make sure that they build the three C's. Make sure that this offensive line build the three C's. Make sure that this offensive line work enough to build continuity, reps and more reps, live reps, not live reps. Put this offensive line to the test mentally and physically, because it's going to help your defensive line too. The better they are physical, with physical presence, it's going to help your defensive line. Work them in a way that they start to have confidence. And we'll be able to tell they got confidence, because when adversity comes, their mindset, their mental toughness is going to be that they're going to be able to divide. They're not going to be divide and conquer. They're going to be able to pull together, unify, and dominate. Build that confidence. And then when you build that confidence, teach them how to control the line of scrimmage and control the game. If this offensive line wants to be great, build the three C's. And if we build those three C's with the culture, and they exude those things, this same culture and confidence and control and unity, continuity, is going to float this football team. Because as I said in my opening, offense and defensive line are the foundation of your culture. And if they build this same three C's and same three that builds them, it's going to flow through your football team. And I'm going to tell you this, as I told you about in the first five, and I'm going to say it again. Don't say Coach Marv said if you got this, you're going to win a Super Bowl. Nope. It's going to take more than this. But I can guarantee you ain't going to win one if you ain't got none of this. Almost like when I said, somebody told me, say, if you're in the lottery, you go pick the numbers from the store. And I'm gonna give you some numbers. I ain't telling the numbers I pick is gonna win. I guarantee you I'm not gonna win if I don't buy no ticket. And I'm asking the Cowboys to build the ticket in culture setting and building the three C's in this offensive line. As I said before, man, I want to tell you, man, there was a lot of people that was in. It was some people in the chat. Some of these people had probably um, moved on and gone, because I know it's on late on a Friday, and everybody want to get out there and do their thing. Marcus, I appreciate you. JC, man, I appreciate you being in the chat, man. I appreciate you being in the chat for every time I'm here, man. That's man. Y'all are so. I'm so Angie. Thank you, darling, for always supporting me and always being there. T Smooth, for being there. Lou, oh man, salute, my man. hey man, you the one bringing the ideas out, and I'm just piggybacking on your ideas, man, because that guy Lou does some great commentary, man, some great film work. Hopefully, I can get to the point where I'm doing that film work, not film work, but doing those splices and cuts and edits like he's doing it, because I'm gonna start putting some things together and on a recorded thing, and see if I can try to work some of those things so I can give you some context of what I'm saying with some of the stuff that I've heard. But three C's. Coach Marv is built, and hopefully we go over it, because I always want to make sure that people understand some of the other things I talked about. You go back and look at my video about the culture, setting a new culture, man. That was one of the first videos I did, man. That is very important because it talks about how teams looked at us before and what we need to do with our building blocks of culture to get out of that narrative that we have with people when people looked at us. That's the only thing we're gonna be. If we get out that narrative. That narrative. Once we get out that narrative, then we start believing in ourselves and doing some great things. Support the channel if you can, man. With like, comment, and subscribe. Please repost this and share this information, man. Go out there on your social media platforms, on Twitter. The people over there at Twitter, man. Please go out there and repost this live stream to people out there on YouTube. Share this with your content. If you have in your heart that you're trying to help the channel at this particular time till we get to the point where we get enough subscribers that we become monetized, we start doing super chats. But right now, for to keep the channel going and for me to get some more equipment that I need to get, in the bottom corner here, this is my cash app, PBS 222. If you feel in your heart to send out a cash app, man, that's going towards the uplifting and trying to keep this channel going and keep Coach Marv coming out here with some real stuff, man. I'm gonna come out with probably another video sometime this week, probably sometime this weekend, maybe, because every time something comes and touch my heart, man, I just say, hey, man, let me go out here and talk about this. Um, I'm thinking about doing a Dak Prescott video, but I don't even think I want to give the crazy pundits out there who were saying all the crazy stuff the time. I think Dak doesn't worry about it. We shouldn't worry about it. We should be focused on what we need to do to get to six and talk about those things. But remember, man, this offensive line can be great. It's already got a better uh, pedigree and resume than the Great Wall, but it has to have the substance that the Great Wall has: continuity, confidence, and control. Thank y'all for having me, listening to me. Salute again. Get those likes and comments, subscribe. I appreciate your time. Coach Marv out. Salute.